Oh, well, this is exciting. Earlier today, we're being told tourists and National Trust rangers saw the legendary fin disappear into a magical doorway within the rock face here at the Giant's Causeway.
Deep along the rugged coastline of Northern Ireland's Giant's Causeway, a massive slab of solid basalt appears to swing open from the face of a cliff. Not crack, not collapse, open for exactly 11 seconds. Then it seals shut so perfectly that no seam, no fracture, and no sign of movement remains visible anywhere on the rock face. But during those 11 seconds, drone footage appears to capture something moving inside the darkness beyond the stone. What emerged from that hidden chamber, and what may still remain sealed behind the cliffs, triggered one of the strangest investigations ever connected to the famous coastline. The man who captured the footage wasn't a scientist or a conspiracy researcher. He was a 34-year-old electrician from Dublin named Kieran Doyle. One calm autumn evening, Doyle drove north, hoping to film cinematic drone shots of the Antrim coast for social media. It was something he had done countless times before. Launch the drone, capture the cliffs, edit the footage, drive home. He wasn't searching for mysteries, but his drone may have recorded one. The footage shows part of the basalt cliff face slowly shifting outward like a gigantic hidden doorway. The slab, estimated to weigh nearly 20 tons, moves with unnatural smoothness, revealing complete darkness behind it. Then, after exactly 11 seconds, the stone closes again with impossible precision. No debris falls, no crack remains. It looks less like geology and more like machinery. At first, Doyle believed the video had to be a glitch. He replayed the footage repeatedly on his phone, trying to explain away what he was seeing. But every time, the same thing appeared in the shadows behind the opening. Something moved inside. He uploaded the clip anyway. By the next morning, researchers, journalists, and geologists from across Ireland were contacting him demanding answers. One of them was Sarah Brennan, a respected geologist who had spent more than 15 years studying the basalt formations of Northern Ireland. Brennan initially dismissed the footage as fake until she watched it herself. Then she watched it again and again. According to reports, she eventually called Doyle directly and told him the footage either represented the most advanced geological hoax she had ever seen, or something that should not have been possible at all. The next morning, she traveled to the site personally, and that's where the story becomes even stranger. The Giant's Causeway is one of the most studied geological formations in Europe. Formed roughly 60 million years ago by volcanic activity, the coastline contains nearly 40,000 interlocking basalt columns stretching into the sea. According to Irish legend, the formation was created by the giant Finn McCool as a bridge to Scotland. But despite decades of surveys, seismic scans, and geological studies, no researcher had ever discovered hollow chambers hidden within those cliffs. Every scan showed solid volcanic rock. Until now. Because after analyzing the exact section captured in Doyle's footage, Brennan reportedly found something she could not explain. Anomalies buried deep behind the basalt wall, where no empty space should exist at all. And according to people familiar with the investigation, that discovery is what caused one senior geologist to quietly resign days later without publicly explaining why. Now, researchers are watching the cliffs closely, waiting for one thing: the door to open again. So what do you think was really captured in the footage? A natural geological illusion? A hidden structure buried inside the cliffs? Or something far stranger concealed behind the stones of Ireland's most legendary coastline? Let us know your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoy unexplained discoveries, ancient mysteries, and stories hidden beneath the surface of history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. The next scan is the part of the story almost nobody involved is willing to discuss publicly. Because according to the researchers who saw the data, what appeared beneath the cliffs should not have existed at all. The morning after Kieran Doyle uploaded the footage, Sarah Brennan arrived at the exact coordinates with ground-penetrating radar equipment. The weather along Giant's Causeway was brutal. Cold Atlantic wind cutting across the cliffs, while heavy gray clouds rolled overhead. Brennan calibrated the system, aimed the scanner at the basalt wall, and began the survey. Then she froze. Her assistant later admitted he initially thought the radar had malfunctioned because Brennan stopped reacting entirely. No notes, no adjustments, no movement at all. She simply stared at the display in complete silence for nearly 2 minutes. Because hidden behind what every geological survey had classified as solid volcanic rock, the radar appeared to reveal a hollow chamber, 12 feet deep, 26 feet wide. A sealed cavity buried inside basalt, where no hollow space should have existed. But the chamber itself was not the most disturbing part. Inside the void, the scans reportedly detected 7 upright figures standing in formation. Each measured between 7 and 8 feet tall. Everyone positioned the exact same distance apart. Everyone facing directly toward the stone doorway captured in Doyle's footage. Not collapsed, not scattered randomly. Standing, waiting, and that created a problem no one could explain. Basalt forms from molten lava cooling into solid rock. It does not slowly build around objects the way sedimentary layers do. If those figures were truly sealed inside the formation, they would have had to exist before the lava hardened. Trapped there nearly 60 million years ago when the Giant's Causeway itself was formed, long before human beings existed. Then came the second scan. The following day, geophysicist Ian Gallagher arrived from Belfast carrying more advanced subsurface imaging equipment. Gallagher was known for remaining calm under pressure after decades mapping underground structures across Europe. But according to witnesses at the site, about 20 minutes into the scan, his hands began visibly shaking. He reportedly stepped away from the equipment entirely before returning to study the results again. Because the new scans suggested the figures were hollow, not solid bodies, shells, thin outer casings with empty interiors, almost like gigantic cocoons preserved inside the volcanic rock. And whatever material formed those shells made even less sense than the chamber itself. Nothing organic should survive direct contact with lava exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet the structures appeared intact, sealed inside basalt that should have destroyed anything trapped within it. Gallagher reportedly copied the scans onto encrypted drives before leaving the site. But before he even returned to Belfast, phone calls had already started coming in from unknown numbers. Within 48 hours, government officials and environmental agencies quietly arrived at the cliffs. Public statements dismissed the entire event as an optical illusion caused by shadows and wet basalt. Officials claimed no chamber existed and no anomalies had been found. But Brennan refused to sign the report. Instead, she reportedly resigned after sending a short statement to colleagues that ended with 3 chilling words: "I have seen enough." Over the following months, Brennan attempted to publish her findings through Ireland's Geological review channels. The paper was rejected. Officially, the scans were blamed on faulty equipment and flawed methodology. Unofficially, according to people close to the investigation, the real concern was something far more disturbing, because several scans allegedly detected faint biological heat signatures and rhythmic pulse-like activity coming from inside the chamber itself. And then came the detail that terrified the researchers most. When Brennan returned to the site 4 days later for a final comparative scan, one of the 7 figures was missing. Dr. Brennan returned to the cliff 4 days after the first scan, hoping a second survey would explain everything away. She wanted the original reading to be a mistake, a technical error, distorted data, anything rational. But the moment the new scan appeared on her monitor, she froze. One of the figures had vanished. Only 6 remained, and that was impossible. The stone slab had never opened again. Kieran Doyle had installed motion-activated cameras aimed directly at the cliff 24 hours a day. For 4 straight days, nothing moved. No vibration, no cracks, no shifting rock. The entrance stayed completely sealed, yet somehow, inside that hidden chamber, one of the 7 towering shapes was simply gone. No debris, no tunnel, no evidence of collapse. It was as if the figure had passed directly through solid basalt and disappeared into nothing. Then things became even more disturbing. Thermal imaging expert Dr. Niamh Callahan was brought in to search for underground heat sources, volcanic pockets, geothermal activity, buried water channels. Something explainable. Instead, her thermal scanner lit up bright orange. Inside the chamber, the 6 remaining figures were radiating heat at exactly 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Not close to human temperature. Human temperature. The surrounding cliff was freezing cold, battered by Atlantic wind and sea air. By every law of physics, anything trapped inside that rock should have lost its heat millions of years ago. But the readings stayed steady. 99 degrees. Again and again. Callahan recalibrated her equipment multiple times. She switched batteries, changed angles, even borrowed another thermal unit to verify the results. Same readings. 6 warm figures sealed behind rock that formed nearly 60 million years ago. Then the vibration sensors picked up something worse. A repeating pulse. Every 4 seconds. Slow, rhythmic, consistent. Researchers quietly admitted the pattern looked terrifyingly similar to synchronized heartbeats. And the scans kept changing. Every 72 hours, the figures appeared slightly closer to the stone doorway. At first, it was only inches. But when the team overlaid all the scans together, the movement became undeniable. The 6 shapes were slowly advancing toward the exit. Not randomly, deliberately. Something hidden inside those cliffs for millions of years was moving toward the door that had already opened once. The thermal signatures also began fluctuating, occasionally rising above 100 degrees before settling back again. Researchers compared the changes against tides, weather patterns, seismic activity, even lunar cycles. Nothing matched. The heat patterns behaved as if they were responding to something alive inside the chamber. Meanwhile, thousands of tourists continued walking across the Giant's Causeway every day, completely unaware that only a few dozen feet behind the famous basalt cliffs, 6 unidentified figures appeared to be standing in darkness. Warm, active, and slowly getting closer. Then, suddenly, the project was shut down. Monitoring equipment disappeared overnight. Researchers were warned to stay silent or risk losing their careers. No interviews, no publications, no public discussion. But not everything vanished. Kieran Doyle still keeps copies of the original drone footage stored across multiple hard drives in different locations. The researchers involved reportedly saved private backups of the scans before access was cut off, and according to those who saw the final data, the figures were still moving. The team still holds every piece of evidence. Sonar recordings, thermal scans, vibration logs, movement tracking data. time-stamped images of every monitor reading collected during the investigation. All of it stored on encrypted drives locked far away from public access. And according to the final scan taken before the entire operation was shut down, the 6 remaining figures inside the cliff were still active, still shifting, still emitting heat, still generating rhythmic pulses researchers privately admitted sounded disturbingly similar to heartbeats. The entity closest to the sealed stone entrance had moved within just a few feet of the doorway. Its pulse had grown stronger, faster, more aggressive. Scientists who later reviewed the final night of data reportedly reached the same terrifying conclusion. The next time the chamber is scanned, there may no longer be 6 figures remaining inside. But the most disturbing part of the mystery was never the 6 entities still trapped in the cavern. It was the 7th one that vanished. When researchers first identified the hidden basalt chamber, 7 massive forms stood inside. Now only 6 remain. One disappeared completely. No collapsed tunnel, no shattered rock, no visible exit, no evidence of escape. It was simply gone, and nobody has been able to explain how. So, where did it go? Some investigators fear it may now be somewhere beneath the Atlantic coastline, moving through flooded cave systems hidden beneath Ireland. Others believe it could be concealed inside another untouched chamber, buried deep below the cliffs. Or somewhere even worse. Somewhere closer, beneath cities, inside mountains, moving through places humanity has never even thought to search. Then another chilling detail emerged. Kieran Doyle, the electrician whose drone captured the original footage, allegedly admitted something to a close friend he never revealed publicly. In the final seconds before the stone doorway sealed shut, Doyle claimed he saw movement outside the chamber. Not inside. Outside. Something moving across the cliff face itself. That portion of the footage was removed before the video was uploaded online, and the complete recording has never been released. What frightened researchers most was the reaction of the 6 remaining figures after the 7th vanished. They didn't panic. They didn't scatter. They simply continued moving slowly toward the entrance. Calm, controlled, deliberate. Almost as if the disappearance had been expected. As if the 7th entity was only the first to leave. Humanity has always believed we were the first intelligent species to walk this planet. But if the scans are genuine, then something else may have existed here long before us. Hidden inside volcanic stone, radiating body heat, producing heartbeat-like rhythms, while entire civilizations rose and collapsed above them over millions of years. One researcher later claimed Dr. Brennan privately confessed something she could never publicly admit. Their pulses are getting stronger. Their heat signatures are increasing. They're almost at the entrance. And somewhere beyond that cliff face, the 7th figure may already be out there. Do you think the remaining entities beneath Giant's Causeway are preparing to emerge? Researchers claim one of the 7 beings sealed inside the basalt chamber has already disappeared, without opening the stone doorway or leaving behind a single trace. If these scans are real, this may become one of the most terrifying discoveries ever documented. Comment your theory below, and subscribe for more hidden mysteries, ancient secrets, and unexplained discoveries.